Alright, today I have the pleasure of doing an early beta review for GOG Galaxy 2.0, the upcoming storefront/launcher from CD Projekt that is designed to link all of your existing PC libraries in one convenient place. Before we get to that, however, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about our video sponsor called Amino. The process of determining sponsors is fairly complex. If it would affect objectivity or impact the quality of the video material itself, well, that's obviously not going to work. But Amino, rather than being something that ties to the games industry specifically, is a framework for social communities and groups. Before finalizing the partnership, I asked the upper echelon community if they had any feedback on Amino, and the responses I got were extremely positive, so I'm pleased to work with Amino as a channel sponsor. There are communities for tons of different subjects, from gaming news to artwork, history, and everything in between. There is also a new type of content called Amino Stories that I will be posting, which operate as a sort of bullet point video series. To check out my stories and the material of other creators on Amino, just search Upper Echelon Gamers and find my global profile. As this video goes live on YouTube, the story version will go live on Amino as well. Thank you again to Amino for partnering with the channel. It's a great social space with a lot of different really cool communities that are very active. It's been a pleasure working with them and using the platform. But now on to the actual video. GOG Galaxy 2.0 is, at its core, a bridge between launchers. Recently in the games industry, there's been a growing amount of interest in first-party digital storefronts, and the result is that PC users now have to utilize multiple different platforms to play all of their games. Where once there was really only Steam, now there is the Epic Store, Origin, Uplay, Battle.net, Bethesda Launcher, and more. Because of the emphasis on exclusivity that some of these launchers prioritize, whether it be first-party exclusives developed in-house like what Origin does, or offering cash to developers in order to force users to use their shitty little platform, like what Epic does, the end result is the same. Different games, different launchers, different Friendslist integrations, and overall it is becoming rather messy and inconvenient. GOG Galaxy 2.0 looks to solve this problem, and from what I've seen so far, it has the framework to do an excellent job of it. I was invited to join the private beta, and it's already become my primary launcher for most of the games that I play. Within a few minutes, I've been able to link Steam, the Epic Store, Uplay, and my Xbox Live account, since those are what I primarily use. But there are a few more integrations already offered, like PlayStation Network, Origin, and Battle.net. This is by no means the entire list of potential launchers, but it's already quite large for a beta version, and the biggest hurdle by far will be for CD Projekt to form relationships with these competing publishers, thus allowing for all remaining features to integrate fully. As it stands, even with just the current selection, it is already a large step forward for a lot of gamers, so any additional partnerships that they can negotiate will be of great benefit. But I already see the linked launcher function for their immediate roster as a powerful motivating factor. Now, it's important to understand what the function actually is, because I've seen a lot of misconceptions recently. Once you have linked your Steam or Epic account or whatever launcher it may be to GOG Galaxy, you are able to launch your games through GOG without opening and actively using the other storefront. However, this does not fully circumvent those other storefronts for every activity. If you want to buy a game that is exclusive to, say, the Epic Store, you will need to log into the Epic Store and purchase the game there. Once that is done, however, you can import it to GOG Galaxy and not be forced to use the Epic Store regularly, which is a plus, but not quite what some players imagine it to be. Now, in the future, if CD Projekt were able to negotiate the option, it may be possible to buy games from other storefronts directly through GOG Galaxy, but even in such an instance, the purchase would still be in direct support of those alternative platforms. GOG Galaxy is a convenience tool, not a full-on replacement of the existing stores. If GOG Galaxy could enable a central storefront linked to all existing launchers, it could have tremendous user appeal. Imagine being able to compare side by side all of the different store prices for a game you're interested in, and then picking the one that best fits your needs or has the lowest price. Platform discounts don't always coincide, so a game that is $60 on one storefront might be $40 temporarily on another, though the occurrence is rare with the heavy emphasis on exclusivity nowadays, but it can happen. And in such a case, GOG Galaxy would allow a user to see that side by side if they can manage to form the partnerships. At the moment, I can't find any indication towards this being an intended feature, and since GOG Galaxy is itself a competing storefront, I would expect there to be a fair amount of friction when it comes to a service like that, but when constructing a central game library, a feature that beneficial should at least be discussed, because as interest grows in the storefront, CD Projekt might be able to obtain enough leverage in order to work towards a feature that's significant. Next is your friends list. As it stands, this is an area where Galaxy has a lot more to build. The ultimate mission is to have one central game library with one central friends list alongside that conveniently links everything together, but unlike the current game integration roster, the friends list feature is far less developed. As far as I can tell, the only integration so far is Facebook, which, if we're being honest, is a fairly insignificant platform to link for a lot of gamers, but if progress can be made on that front, which I have no doubt it will over time, then the mission of developing Galaxy into a fully functional hub by itself will gather serious momentum. When examining your game library, it is mostly well polished. The majority of games have pre-selected cover art, and even when they do not have that artwork, you can manually go in and set your own, if you desire to do so. When actually launching a game, it's hit or miss, however. The process of updating still takes place through the game's initial storefront, not through GOG, and it's not possible to completely circumvent launching that original platform, so if there are updates required, or if you fully logged out of the game's primary platform, launching through GOG Galaxy will open up that second storefront, which can be really annoying and somewhat slow. Now we arrive at privacy. This is where GOG Galaxy truly starts to shine. User data in the modern tech industry is valuable. It can be harvested for analytical purposes, cataloged for marketing reasons, or in some cases outright sold to the highest bidder. CD Projekt and GOG have a very simple and precise approach to this concept. Their stance is, it's your data, you are in control of it. When you decide to drop the service, uninstall, or sever connections to the storefront, all of your data is immediately deleted from all GOG servers. This is a far cry from how its competition, storefronts like Epic Games, have been approaching the issue. The emphasis on consumer data privacy is refreshing, it is appreciated, and it is important for helping to maintain the excellent reputation that CD Projekt has been able to cultivate with the widespread gaming community. In its current form, GOG Galaxy 2.0 is clearly an early stage version of what it will eventually become, but the main benefit that I see, and the likely goal overall, is to bring new players onto the platform where they are then able to purchase games direct from GOG themselves as opposed to sticking with their previous storefronts. There are numerous different benefits to buying on GOG over other competing launchers, but none larger than their approach to DRM. GOG has a very pointed policy, which I have discussed in the past in previous videos, called FCK DRM, in which they outline the stance that your games are exactly that. Your games, and they do not intend to interfere with your ability to download the game client and launch it at your own convenience. Much like their privacy approach, CD Projekt makes every effort to build their services around the consumer and to the benefit of their player base. This anti-DRM or digital rights management approach, while vastly beneficial to players, is perceived as detrimental by certain developers or publishers. The issue of internet piracy is a complicated one, and some developers believe that publishing their game or updating it fully on GOG may result in an increased rate of their game being illegally pirated. To me, though I have no concrete data or evidence to support these assumptions, that seems entirely incorrect. Consumers often resort to piracy as an effort to circumvent predatory practices or as a mechanism to express discontent. The Epic Store, for instance, is cultivating one of the worst reputations in gaming history. They are despised, reviled, and hated, mostly as a result of Tim Sweeney and his totally ignorant approach to customer relations, which leads to a huge influx in the number of users that are willing to pirate products that made backroom deals with Epic. CD Projekt is on the opposite end of that spectrum. I know a great many players, and this is anecdotal evidence to be sure, but I do consider myself to have a fairly wide-ranging community from which to gather feedback. I know a large number of players who are fully willing and enthusiastic even about buying a product from CD Projekt and GOG. They are glad to give their money to one of the only companies that they perceive to truly have their best interests at heart. So when facing the claim of increased piracy as a result of laxer DRM from GOG, I would steadfastly claim that that is in fact the opposite of what is true. GOG Galaxy 2.0 succeeds in its primary goal of becoming a central library for your games. There are a few libraries which have yet to be integrated, such as Nintendo or Bethesda, but CD Projekt have stated that they are actively working on expanding their relationships and adding more partners. Galaxy does not eliminate the need for other launchers entirely. They must still be installed and running and up to date for Galaxy to tap into them, but it does allow for you to view your entire library under one central roof with comprehensive analytics, filters, and sorting capabilities. The friends list is at a very early stage, but it is eventually intended to link all of your social groups together in one place, which might be one of the greatest benefits of all. And although there are no confirmed plans to add store integrations that bypass the alternative launchers entirely, such as Steam or the Epic Store, if the platform can gain enough momentum and popularity among PC gamers, CD Projekt's ability to expand on what the service offers will increase right alongside it. One last point of note here is the receptivity towards community development. A lot of platforms take a very closed-off approach nowadays, but CD Projekt, in typical fashion, is allowing the community to develop and post integrations that will be available for download by everyone else. I'm no expert on this craft, but in my experience, whenever a company opens up their product or their game to the creativity of their fan base, wonderful, unexpected, and very impressive things happen. So all things considered, GOG Galaxy is already my primary game library tool, and I'm very enthusiastic about watching it grow and evolve over time. That's it for today, though. There are a bunch of links down below. There's the Amino story of this upload, which will be live as well if you want to check it out, or become a channel member, or a bunch of other stuff, but I'll cut it there and stop rambling. As always, thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.